So hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's been a while since I've spoke with you last. A few updates for the Himalayan. Still going very well, no issues whatsoever with the engine. In fact, the engine's got better, it's got quieter. I'm noticing that the valve adjustment doesn't need adjusting at all that much these days. I've fitted an 18-inch rear wheel to the bike, an alloy rear wheel, which I'll talk about in a second. But other than that, still going very well, very comfortable, taking me absolutely everywhere on a shoestring. Don't put hardly any fuel in it. And the performance-wise, since I've fitted the foam air filter and I've done the modifications to obviously the Lextech baffle, so I modified the baffle slightly to give a bit of back pressure. I'm finding that I don't need to use a boost plug at all. There is no boost plug on this bike. It is totally stock. I'm using the NGK Iridium spark plug. No stalling, just so you're aware. I've had the air delete kit done. The evap's been removed as well, and obviously the exhaust system. It's basically it's an aftermarket can on the back. But other than that, tech cam fitted, of course. Bike running very, very well. So the emulators in the forks are proving to be excellent, certainly on the rough trails. Don't get as much bottoming out at all. The much firmer front end, and obviously when I take a big hit, it takes the hit. I've got the Hitchcock's extra heavier springs in here as well, so they're only, I think they're about £40 for the pair. They're not expensive, but certainly if you're a biggish guy like myself and you do ride on like pothole roads, then I would recommend the Tech YSS emulator kit, and probably just heavier springs and a tiny bit of preload, not much. Brake wise, I'm running EBC red pads, just the off-road pads on there. I've also got some lagging on the exhaust now, so that just keeps the heat in there, which I've noticed seems to make a difference. Yeah, so we've replaced the stock indicators with these flexible indicators at the front and back, because the stock Himalayan ones are pretty useless really. They just snap off, and there's a couple of times where I've just knocking the stock one with my bag, or when I'm with my friend, and just the slightest knock on a branch, they're so brittle. So these are like flexible ones that I got off eBay, I think, or Amazon, and they're a sealed lens, and it's pretty bright. Just literally bolted those straight in place. So like I said, indicators have changed. I think mirrors, I'm going to look at probably changing getting some double take mirrors eventually, but these are okay. I mean, they do the job, don't they? So yeah, a couple of things then. So you'll notice that we are running now an 18-inch rear wheel, and you think, well, why is it fitted an 18-inch rear wheel? Well, two reasons. This particular wheel has got a rim lock, but what I noticed was the tyre availability for 17-inch wheels is very expensive, and when you start fitting knobblies, to bikes, certainly in the winter, they don't last long, and on a 17-inch you could be paying up to £100 a tyre. So I started doing my own work, and I thought, well, it'd be interesting to see if we could get an 18-inch rear wheel, an alloy rear wheel, stainless spokes, and obviously fit a rim lock. And it just so happens that on the Facebook, the UK Himalayan Royal Enfield Owners UK page, I asked, and there was a gentleman there who was selling one. So we did a deal, and I think it cost him £400 in total to get the rim built. The wheel is it's a 18 by 4 wheel size. And it's alloy, supplied by the Central Wheel Company on a obviously stock Enfield hub, Himalayan hub and spokes. And I'm thinking about getting the front done, because the front steer wheels had quite a bit of hammer. In fact, it's slightly egg-shaped. Could do with truing. I think I hit a pothole at speed, and it's managed to just put a bit of a dent in there. But it's okay, you can't feel it when you're riding. So 18-inch wheel on the back. The tyre size, so at the moment, the tyre, we fitted a Pirelli MT09, MT21, sorry. which is a nice sort of like do-it-all trail tyre, in the fact that it's good on the road and generally mixed ability. The tyre size is a little bit on the small side, so I didn't want to go too big. And you can see when you look into the swing arm there, you could actually go a bit bigger. So this tyre, is a 110/80/18, and what I'm going to do next time is go 120/90/18, and that will probably fill up. It'll probably add about a half an inch each side, so the wheel will be bigger. As it looks at the moment, the actual wheel size is smaller than the stock wheel because it's a lower profile tyre. So if you actually put the 17-inch Himalayan wheel next to it, the actual stock wheel is actually bigger, but this is because it's got a shallower profile, you see, so actually it's a bit smaller. Does it make a difference? I believe it does. Yeah, it's certainly more snatchy on the throttle because obviously it's a lower profile, not as much flex in the tyre. So actually on the trails it feels very good. Feels very good on the road as well. It's accelerating quicker. But I think what I'll probably do is, because I'm using the stock gearing at the moment on the 15-tooth front sprocket, what I'm going to do is probably put the 120/90/18 on, which will certainly beef that back end up. That will make the wheel circumference bigger than the stock. And I think because of some of the green lanes that we go down, I might end up putting a 14-tooth front sprocket on just to compensate that, for the gearing. Don't think it needs it, but I just think there are one or two hills that we go up where I just think lower revs would be a little bit more better for the engine, Other things I've done is as well, where the sprocket cover is there, you can see I've drilled a series of 20mm holes. I think there's 5 holes in the casing. And what that's for is basically to stop the mud. When we're greening, we get an awful lot of mud compacted in there. And what I find now is that just with the holes, I can just put the jet wash in there, and it just literally flushes out any of the certainly in the winter. It's not a problem in the summer. The chain oiler is working very well. So it's just basically it's just a very basic Lubeman setup. It's just a Lubeman oiler. So it's just a little button oiler, press the button on the top for 20 seconds. And what that does, basically, is it just runs down a delivery pipe, and I've got a tyre app, probably can't see it on it, but there's a tyre app that's running against the rear sprocket. So it's a little bit like a Scott oiler, in the fact that I just press the button on there, 20-30 seconds, and it just lubes the chain nicely, and that seems to be working okay. Obviously behind here you can see the bulge in the airbox. That's because if you look at one of my other videos, I've fitted a Suzuki GS125 air intake in there, and it does run very nice. It's got a lot of mid-range torque. In fact, coming up here today in 4th gear, it's accelerating up past 60 mile an hour uphill. So the fueling's really good with the cam, the foam filter, the Lextech exhaust. So the Lextech exhaust, you probably can't see in there, but like I say, the baffle, we took the baffle out and we extended it by probably a good 5 or 6 inches and crimped the end. So the actual baffle itself is a closed plate, whereas the stock one is an open pipe. So by crimping the end of the baffle, the gases are running over the edge, and then we drilled a series of holes, and it just gets rid of that popping noise, which is quite ear-piercing. And I think it also adds a little bit of back pressure to the tune as well of the engine. So the engine's running, it seems to enjoy the, a little bit of back pressure. So we've got the exhaust wrap on as well. So I've got exhaust wrap on the bike, and I noticed that's just basically just to keep the heat in. And I think again that's contributing, to the there's no backfiring or anything when I shut off. Lost a cap here. But the other time we were out on the moors last week, and I dropped this bike 5 times. It's my own fault, and basically, took some heavy blows to the handlebars, and it's still absolutely sound. It just runs. Like I say, I'm getting phenomenal miles to the gallon. Very, very comfortable. I'm very happy with the rear wheel, to the point where I think, like I said, I'm going to probably go for a front alloy wheel eventually. Front end wise, not really much changed. The actual hugger here, sorry, the fender just keeps the crap off the headlight, because the headlight there is, does get quite a lot of spray from the front end. But yeah, that's all there is to report, really. Heated grips, everything is still working okay. The cockpit's working absolutely fine. It's functional. Yeah, just another year of ownership, and it's coming up to, like I said, 19,000 miles. The tappets are getting ready to be done. And what I've noticed with the tappets is they've settled down quite a bit now. They were quite loud before. But with mileage on the engine's actually very, very sweet. It runs incredibly. There's no sort of like clattering like there used to be when it was new. Just seems to have bedded in nicely. I just change the oil religiously every 3,000 miles. I think for the first 10,000 miles I'll change the oil and the filter, but after 10,000 miles I'll just change the filter every other oil change. Obviously in my other previous videos I looked at the suspension upgrades for the shock and obviously the front end on the forks. So obviously the fork damping, the YSS emulators, the compression emulators are very good. They give the front end a lot more firmer feel, certainly on the loose stuff. So I would, if you are riding dirt and you're quite a big guy like me, I would certainly look at putting some, invest in the Hitchcock springs, the extra. I think they're a heavier spring, 20% heavier. They're very cheap. Fit yourself some emulators on there as well. I think they're about, like I say, all in all, I think that was about £70. And obviously the YSS, the Hagon shock at the back, just transforms this bike into into just an absolute awesome machine. Just a bit of an informative update, and just keep you posted. Feel free to drop me any messages or ask me any questions. And all I've got to say really is just stay safe, look after yourselves, and just keep riding. Take it easy, and see you again soon.